This is called Purple Russian.
Yeah, it's a variety called Purple Russian. And so, all right, we've let the tomato ripen. It's like good and red, and we want to extract the seeds. So, you know, we have to cut it open, like so. And inside you see the cavities where the seeds are kind of embedded in this gelatinous material. There's a purpose for that biologically, is that feeds the seed, and also ensures that the seed doesn't prematurely germinate. It's like a protective substance. So to extract the seeds, well, normally I use a little spoon. I don't have it in my hand, but it's a simple matter of just getting all the seeds and all that gelatinous stuff surrounding the seeds into a jar, like so. It doesn't preclude using that. If you want to make some really good salsa or tomato sauce, you can still do it. You've just gotten rid of the watery bits, so you won't have to boil it down as long. So, see, I'll flick the whole seed cavity into the jar, like so. Okay. Now, normally I would use, you know, a couple dozen fruits, so I get a nice mix in there like this. See, it's liquidy. And then make sure it's labeled Purple Russian, especially if you have other varieties that you're saving seed from, because you don't want to mix them up. Next year, when you generously give away seeds to your friends and other gardeners, you want to make sure that you don't give them something that is misrepresented by the label. So just screw a little lid on there and let the sugars do their thing. It's like brewing beer or wine. You let them ferment for 2 or 3 days. And what the fermentation does is it breaks down that gelatinous layer that surrounds the seed. It also acts as a preventative of disease, because if there's any disease organisms, you know, by happenstance in your tomato, the fermentation process will kill those microorganisms. And then you wait for a bit of a white mold to develop on top. I know it's gross, but what it signifies is that you've had a successful fermentation. Now here's the cool thing. When the fermentation process is over, it's a good idea to agitate the jar. The reason for that is to break up any remaining chunks of flesh to which the seeds are adhered. And then what we do is simply, dilute, add water. Why are we adding water? Because the good, viable seeds have the property that they sink to the bottom. They're heavy, they're fully developed. Any seeds that didn't fully develop, and so are of no use to us as gardeners, will float. And so now I've added lots of water, clean water to the top. You can see my good seeds, see them all down here at the bottom. So all we have to do now is pour off what we don't want, carefully, while keeping an eye on the seeds at the bottom. Da, 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 da. And there we go. So there's the seeds that were visible. Now we repeat that process because we want to get them cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. So refill the jar. Wait a little bit for them to settle out, because those are the good seeds we want, and repeat the process carefully while observing the seeds at the bottom, just like that. And so I usually do that 2 or 3 or 4 times, depending on how much like extraneous materials in there, like chunks of tomato flesh and whatnot. And then oh, I must not be too impatient. Let them settle. Okay, there they are. Last pouring off. Very good. Okay, so add a bit more water. Take a small fine sieve. Pour them in like so. I'll just rinse out any stragglers. Like so. And then what I usually do is I have some paper towel here as a blotter, and I just gently tap, 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 tap to remove as much wetness and moisture from the seeds as possible. And then, here's a really critical tip. Never dry your seeds on paper towel because they'll glue themselves to the paper towel. It's always better, after you've tapped out all of the excess moisture, to put them on a non-stick surface. And I find little plastic yogurt container lids just excellent. So, like this, and there's your seeds. It's better to leave them in a nice flat layer so that they don't, so they dry more quickly. There'll be less chance of mold. So those will be next year's tomato seeds. And